Not me. I'll be at home. You'll go all the way down here.
Test 1, 2.
I didn't hear you. Did you see me?
I'm sure if you know. I'm not sure because
Apologize, ladies and gentlemen, a little technical issues here, but we'll be on in a minute.
For those of you who are still here, I apologize. I was going to tell you, please take your seats. We'll begin in about 5 minutes. But at this point, I will say, please silence any electronic devices if you have not already done so, as opposed to my electronic device up here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Soldier Support Institute and the Adjutant General's Corps Regimental Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We are so grateful that you have taken time to make this ceremony a truly special event. I'm Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Dave Ratliff, a member of the Hall of Fame class of 2012, and I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this morning. Please stand for the playing of the National Anthem and remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Joe Messinger, 369th Adjutant General Battalion. Anybody named Murphy here?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me in your manner of tradition. Heavenly Father, the United States of America took from the cosmos 50 stars and placed them upon a field of blue. These stars shine ever brighter when men and women of quality bring forth their nascent light and spread them to a dark world seeking illumination. Today, we recognize a small number of these finest of the fine. From battlefields afar to nearby hallways, they have served their country, one soldier at a time, for a combined service time of hundreds of years. These individuals are not just good soldiers, they are good people. Recognized and chosen by their peers, they are shining examples of quality and excellence. The task of excellence is for each of us to pursue in our own way, and regardless of our station in life, real life examples are necessary to remind us of what we can achieve if only we would set upon the task. As our inductees are recognized here today, we join in prayer and reflection and burn in hope with the fire of the heavens to be equal to the task of excellence. Humbly and with humility we ask these things, and let us respond, Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. I promise you, everything worked the way it was supposed to Monday and Tuesday. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the official party. Seated on the stage are Colonel Neil F. McIntyre, Chief of the Adjutant General's Corps, Commandant Adjutant General School, and Chief Army Music. Chief Warrant Officer 5, David G. Betancourt, Adjutant General School Chief Warrant Officer, and Command Sergeant Major Corey W. Gill, Adjutant General School Command Sergeant Major. The Adjutant General's Corps has existed since June 1775, but the regiment was founded in the summer of 1987. The following comments were taken from the Soldier Support Advocate magazine, the July to September 1987 edition. On June 17, 1987, the 212th anniversary of the Adjutant General's Corps, the Adjutant General's Corps Regiment was activated at the home of the Corps, Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana. This special occasion united members of the Corps from around the world to celebrate the regiment as a focal point of pride and energy. Festivities started early on June 16th with a 12-event regimental athletic day. Soldiers competed in swimming, softball, horseshoes, the litter carry, combat pushball, sprint relays, 5K, and 10K races. Lieutenant Colonel Art Dupay led a team from Fort Jackson to capture gold honors. Over 870 regimental crest medals were awarded for individual excellence. The Club Management School hosted a reunion buffet. Brigadier General Ron Brooks, Hall of Fame class of 2010, unveiled a plaque dedicating the regimental mess for both the officer and non-commissioned officer clubs at Fort Harrison. Following the dedication of the Adjutant General School entrance at Gaylord Hall, the official activation ceremony was held on the parade ground. British Army Major Robert Dilby served as narrator, reflecting the fact that Horatio Gates was a British major before his appointment as our first Adjutant General. The commander of troops was Colonel Mary Willis. Units participating were the Chicago MEPS, the 43rd AG Battalion, the 14th AG Battalion, the 21st Replacement Battalion, the 90th P&A Battalion, the 387th P&A Battalion, the 74th Army Band, the Troop Brigade Color Guard and Salute Battery. On the field were colors from Detroit MEPS, the 369th AG Battalion, the 30th, 42nd, 43rd, 46th, 67th, 95th, and 120th Reception Battalions. The 1st, the 18th, 22nd, 38th, and 90th P&A Battalions. Reserve unit colors were from the 100th and 387th Reception Battalions and the 325th, 335th, and 347th P&A Battalions. Major General Retired Vern L. Bowers was invested as the Honorary Colonel. Chief Warrant Officer 4 Retired Donald E. Hess as Honorary Warrant Officer, and Sergeant Major Retired Dan Daly as Honorary Sergeant Major of the Regiment. Major General Alexei, Hall of Fame class of 2011, dedicated the Adjutant General's Corps colors. Defend and serve became our motto, and the Adjutant Corps Regiment was officially activated. The grand finale was the Adjutant General's Corps Regimental Ball. The first Horatio Gates medals were bestowed upon many distinguished officers and non-commissioned officers for their significant contributions to the good of the Corps. The evening ended with the grand tattoo and the premiere performance of the Adjutant General's Corps March. General's Corps March you just heard was prepared for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony by the United States Army Band and Chorus, Pershing's Own. For the past 30 years, the AG Corps and the Regimental Association have continued to provide world-class service to soldiers, commanders, and families. Units were activated and deactivated as the Army transformed. Soldiers and units deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, Kosovo, Panama, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, and the Sinai. And Adjutant General soldiers have made the ultimate sacrifice during the global war on terrorism and overseas contingency operations. Soldiers and civilians continue to receive awards. 1775, the official magazine of the AG Corps, was improved. Chapters were activated and some were deactivated. Today is another significant day in the history of the Adjutant General's Corps as we recognize and honor those new members of the Hall of Fame and distinguished members of the regiment class of 2017 for their contributions to our Army and the Adjutant General's Corps. Following this ceremony, you'll have an opportunity to visit the Hall of Honor in the Adjutant General School. You'll find the history of the Adjutant General's Corps depicted on a timeline from 1775 to the present. You'll see the names of the recipients of the Maud, Logan, Strickland, Deneen, DeBert Reed, Gorley, Foster, and Mccoullough awards displayed. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Chief of the Corps, Colonel Neil F. McIntyre.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. I will admit that I was a little disappointed that I didn't see more heads bobbing throughout the AG Corps March. So we'll work on that for the next time. Good morning and welcome again. Today's ceremony is an opportunity to recognize the achievements of 7 Army professionals well known to us all as a dedicated ensemble of forward-thinking and creative leaders who day in and day out operated with an edge toward a common goal: to enable their commanders by providing efficient, predictable, and effective personnel support to soldiers and families. So on this week, as our Corps celebrates its 242nd birthday, we celebrate them. In general, Hall of Fame inductions are intended to honor and preserve the contributions of a community's most extraordinary members and to identify and highlight those individuals as role models for current era members to aspire to. Today, we are fortunate to honor 7 inductees that clearly meet this standard. Before I get started, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome our distinguished guests. First of all, I'd like to start off with Ms. Terry Maud. Ms. Terry Maud, thanks for being here today. Your presence is always Your presence here today makes this a very special occasion, so thank you for being here today. The Chief of Staff, the G1 of the Army, Major General Promotable Tom Siemens. Sir, thank you for being here. Almost promoted you to a 4th star there, sir.
All right.
Although we can only hope. We can only hope. Commander of Army Human Resources Command, Major General Jason Evans. Deputy Commander of CASCOM, Mr. John Hall. Sir, thanks for being here today. The Director of Military Personnel Management, Brigadier General Promotable Joe Calloway. The Adjutant General of the Army and DMOR inductee, Brigadier General Jim Iacocca. Deputy Commanding General, Army Human Resources Command, Brigadier General Barbara Owens. Deputy Commanding General, U.S. Army Cadet Command, Brigadier General Bob Bennett. From the Office of the Chief of Army Reserve, G1, Brigadier General William Way. Brigadier General Retired Earl Sims. Sir, thanks for being here. Army G1 Sergeant Major Derek Johnson. I saw him earlier. Army Human Resources Command Command Sergeant Major Wardell Jefferson. Force Column G1 Sergeant Major Roland Dorr.
When your name is called. Please hold your applause until all names have been called. Brigadier General James T. Iacocca, former commander of the 3rd U.S. Army Recruiting Brigade and currently serving as the 60th, the Adjutant General of the Army. Colonel Retired Ralph E. Allison, Jr., former Deputy Commander and Chief of Staff of the Soldier Support Institute. Colonel Retired Michael D. Copenhaver, former U.S. Army Special Operations Command G1 and currently serving as the Deputy J1, Joint Special Operations Command. Colonel Retired Chief Warrant Officer 5, Marty Ann Huff, currently serving as the Senior Human Resources Advisor, Iowa Army National Guard. Our second group, Chief Warrant Officer 5, Jock L. Nixon, former Force Com G1 Chief Warrant Officer and currently serving as a Personnel Policy Integrator, Office of the DMPM. Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired, Jose S. Behill, former 18th Airborne Corps G1 Chief Warrant Officer. Sadly, Jose passed away in March of this year. Accepting on his behalf is his wife, Mrs. Linda Averett. Chief Warrant Officer 4, retired, Constantine S. Green, former senior instructor, Adjutant General School, and currently serving as the Senior Army Instructor, Louisville, South Carolina High School, Junior ROTC. Command Sergeant Major Wardell Jefferson, currently serving as the U.S. Army Human Resources Command, Command Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Derek D. Johnson, currently serving as the Army G1 Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Donald W. Kiefer, currently serving as the United States Army National Guard G1 Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Retired DeMont A. Roberson, former Adjutant General School Proponency Sergeant Major. And Miss Jean E. Bankard, currently serving as the Deputy Chief, U.S. Army General Office or Management Office. The following distinguished members of the regiment could not be here today and will receive their certificates at a later date. Colonel Retired John W. Radke. Colonel Retired Robert C. Whaley. Chief Warrant Officer 5 Andre Davis Sr. Chief Warrant Officer 5 Retired John L. Harrison Sr. Chief Warrant Officer 4 Retired Carrie M. Smith, and Sergeant Major Retired Tamara J. Gregory. find information about each inductee in your program. The members of the class of 2017 will receive a special Adjutant General's Corps crest to be worn at official functions. If not previously selected, they also automatically become distinguished members of the regiment this year. Please feel free to move about to take pictures. Our first inductee for the class of 2007 is Colonel Retired Thomas H. Palmatier. Colonel Palmatier served our Army for 37.5 years. After commanding soldiers on 7 occasions and deploying musical units in support of our Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and Operation New Dawn, Colonel Palmatier retired in 2015. Please welcome Colonel Retired Thomas H. Palmatier into the Hall of Fame class of 2017.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. You know, our Corps has changed so much in the last 40 years. And over that time, it has grown smaller. But as it has grown smaller, the focus has sharpened so that the AG Corps is truly the HR professionals. And in Army music, along with the rest of the Corps, we have jumped through many linguistic hurdles to try to make the doctrine read like Army music is an HR function. But it's not. And we'll keep trying, but it's not. And so as I've reflected on that over the years, you know, we're still proud members of the AG Corps. And in fact, I've come to think of us as being like adopted children. We don't look like our brothers and sisters. We don't look like mom and dad. But we're still part of the family, and we're still loved just as much as the rest of the children. So with that in mind, rather than recounting some of the things that I've done, I would prefer to focus on the times and places where members of our Corps reached out and made me and the rest of Army music feel like they were part of the family. My first exposure was at Fort Ben Harrison when I attended the Warrant Officer Advanced course. I went there as a bandmaster attending the admin warrant officer course. There were also a couple club managers. And expecting to feel like a fish out of water. And yet I ran into an incredible group of professional mid-grade warrant officers as our instructors, who treated us all like fellow officers, and it was really, really a great collegial environment. I'm still a little angry because I finished second in class standing. Jerry Dillard finished first. I left from there to go to Panama, and the first 3 officers that came right out to the airfield to join me, to meet me, were the 3 admin warrants that worked there in Panama. And they just said, okay, you're part of the club now. And during my time there, I was part of the club. The 4 of us hung out together and were thick as thieves. While I was there, though, I was direct commissioned and kind of went to the dark side, and was assigned to 5th Army headquarters. Now, 3-star headquarters, very, very top-heavy. The only other company grade officer was Captain Dave Ellis, and I was a 2nd lieutenant. I was working for then Major Bob Myers, and being a 2nd lieutenant in 3-star headquarters, every possible additional duty seemed to roll down to me. So imagine this, 3-star headquarters, who's in charge of Army leadership programs? The 2nd lieutenant. Who's in charge of Army weight control for the entire headquarters? Popular job. The 2nd lieutenant, yeah. And on and on and on. In addition to the 30 Reserve and National Guard bands I was helping to try to assist. So I went about 3 years and didn't have a single day off for 3 years. And Bob Myers kept adding more and more and more. And I was thinking, what a jerk this guy is. What he was doing, though, was putting me through a staff officer boot camp. He taught me everything I needed to know to succeed as an Army officer, as a staff officer, and as an AG officer. Because he knew that up until that time, I'd really just been immersed in Army music. So it was an incredible, grueling, but incredible learning experience, thanks to Bob. Years down the road, a few more band assignments, and I took command of the Tradoc band at Fort Monroe. And I ran into two individuals there who, again, have played a key role in my life. There was a very sharp first sergeant there named Jerry Purcell. And for the next 20 years, anytime I needed to know how to do something right in the enlisted world, I would call Jerry. And even if it wasn't his job, he would take the time to say, okay, here's how you do this, and here's how you do that. The other thing was, my boss was then Colonel Mike Rochelle. And you can't ask for a better boss than that, and you can't ask for a better teacher than that. Because not only was he a great boss, at least once a month he'd invite me to his office, and we'd put our feet up, and he would just tell stories. He'd tell what it was like to be at the 101st Airborne Division G1. He'd tell me about people in the AG Corps. He kind of introduced me to the senior ranks of the AG Corps. An amazing man, amazing teacher. So after that, off to Command and Staff College, and for the first time, I sat in a room with like a dozen AG officers. I'd never been around that many of them at one time. And we all found out that we had way more in common than we did differently. We all did different things for the Army, but it was for the Army, and made some great friends. And I see Mark Rado, he was one of my classmates there, and we've been supporters of each other for many years. A couple years later, I was assigned to HRC as a band officer and later as XO to the Adjutant General. And to work for Major General Catherine Frost was one of the great privileges of my life. Brilliant woman, fantastic leader, passionate, loved soldiers, loved the AG Corps. It was just incredible working for her. She gave me more than I could handle all the time, and it was a great experience. But at the same time, the larger AG family reached out and kind of adopted me. The Graybeards, the Nick Manji, Ward Nickish, right from the very beginning, they kind of put their arm around me and said, okay, we'll kind of show you the ropes and things like that. Mike Mccoullough was Chief of Army Music at that time. And he taught me an awful lot. But he would call me about once every 2 weeks, and I think the primary purpose of his calls were to make sure that I remembered that he was a colonel and I was a major. and he got that point across pretty well. J.P. Mccoullough took the time to show me the spaces and faces side of the business. And I had the honor of briefing General Maude a couple times. They were thrilling and terrifying experiences. In fact, General Frost, one day, she decided she wanted to have a small working group that was going to redesign the entire HR world. So she put then Colonel Gina Ferrisy and I in a room and said, you can't come out until you come up with this new redesign of the entire HR world. Not knowing, of course, that General Maude was soon to kind of show us the way ahead that he had envisioned for the HR world. So General Frost took me in to brief General Maude. And the whole point of my briefing was almost in diametric opposition to everything that he was proposing. That was fun. So as I came out having just sweated bullets the whole time, his XO Phil McNair said, great job. He was really impressed. I said, are you kidding? He just carved every slide up. And he says, yeah, but you didn't cry.
And faith. Influence of faith and individuals around me who, through their support, love, and example, set the conditions for this day. To start, I must thank God. My faith is a key component of who I am. It got me through many tough times, and will always be a very important part of my life. Over 30 years of service, my faith also led me to a wonderful and supportive family, and allowed me the opportunity to work with the very best officers, NCOs, and civilians serving our Army. I need to start, though, by thanking my parents, and I'll kind of work through that list of key folks. My father was a great influence in my life. 42nd Infantry Division First Sergeant, and then a hardware store owner. He taught me the meaning of selfless service, respect for others, and the importance of non-commissioned officers in officer development and organizational performance. I remember the stories and advice like it was yesterday. I know he's looking down on me today and smiling. My mother taught me the meaning of true faith and to never underestimate myself and to never give up. Unfortunately, my mom couldn't be here today. She broke her hip. But I know she's here in spirit. The teachings and sacrifice of my parents became the very foundation of my career. I'd like to thank several senior officers. Some are in this room. From the very beginning of my career, I was fortunate to work with many outstanding officers who not only demonstrated exceptional leadership abilities, but also set an environment that maximized team potential, creativity, and learning. Great officers like Mike Shane, Earl Sims, Jason Camilla, Mike Rochelle, Steve Smith, Sean Byrne, Stephanie Hunter, Bud Kelly, Tim Robertson, and Larry Adair. Now, some of these officers are not members of the Corps, but their leadership and respect of our community set the condition for great success in the execution of the HR mission. I need to thank the NCO Corps. Almost every step of my career was strongly influenced by non-commissioned officers, starting with the lessons from my dad, followed by a senior NCO hardened by many years in Vietnam, who sat next to me on a Flying Tigers flight to Korea for my first assignment as a second lieutenant in 1979. The one who looked at me with disgust with my hair parted down the middle and then proceeded to mentor this cocky second lieutenant that long 26-hour flight. Ladies and gentlemen, when it was over, I went into the plane's bathroom, wet my hair, and parted my hair on the side. I know that that experience set the tone for the rest of my career. The NCOs that I served with not only led with determination, but they provided insights, experience, training, and set examples of leadership excellence throughout the organizations I was part of. NCOs like James Ewell, Jesse Bailey, Jim Russell, David Brown, and Jim and Maggie Schofield. Some are still in serving, some are not. And there are many, many more, and I apologize if I missed some. And I saw Frankie Labor out there too, and he's one of those. It was that commitment and selfless dedication to the team and their advice and counsel that were always a key component to good decision-making and organizational success. I'd be remiss if I didn't single out several others who I had the pleasure of serving with over the years, and are outstanding leaders and selfless in their commitment to organizational success. These special individuals include Al Kellogg, Bruce Jenkins, Blake Paul Bartz, Teresa Lever, Dan Bruno, Mark Keith, Mike Carroll, and Jim Scheimer. All great soldiers who over the course of our working together reinforced the meaning of true professional excellence. Finally, but more importantly, I need to thank my wife for 33 years, Paula. She is the most loving, caring, selfless, patient, compassionate person I know. She was also the main force in the raising of my two great kids. My son Justin is an Air Force pilot, and my daughter Catherine, who's an Army MI officer. I can't thank all of you enough, all three of you enough, for your commitment and sacrifice over the years and for playing a key role in my career. Without your love and support, truly none of this happens. There is no doubt in my mind. In closing, I'd like to again thank all of those who made this day possible and all of you for taking the time to be here today to participate in this special day. This is truly a remarkable honor and a perfect closing to a career I loved and to the wonderful experiences I will never forget. Defend and serve.
The next member of the class of 2017 is Colonel Retired Arthur A. Strange III. Unfortunately, Colonel Strange was not able to join us today. The fourth member of the class is Chief Warrant Officer 5 Retired Tommy W. Daughtry. CW5 Daughtry has served the Adjutant General's Corps for over 40 years, serving predominantly at Fort Bragg and retiring in 2009. Please Please welcome Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired, Tommy W. Daughtry, into the Hall of Fame class of 2017.
How'd you earn your living? How'd you earn your pay? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. General officers, senior leaders of the civilian personnel, the AG Corps Regiment, the distinguished members that was recognized this morning. Congratulations to each of you. To the Hall of Fame members that's getting inducted today. What a special honor that is. As far as greetings, to my fellow Chief Warrant Officers, to the NCO, the backbone of the Army, to the soldiers that we represent every day on duty and off duty, and we hope to grow the force even better with better soldiers that can have all the requirements completed because we provided all the leadership and care for them. Good morning. On behalf of General Dan K. McNeil, he couldn't be here today. I saw him last week at Fort Bragg, and he asked me to tell the AG Corps congratulations and hope you have a wonderful week, and for all of us to have fun. I'd like to introduce my family. I believe family is very important. My wife, Kay, a very strong, loving wife, has been part of the Department of the Army for a long time. In fact, she'll have 30 years federal service and additional years with the state of Georgia in October. Collectively, as a husband and wife, this is our 69th year serving our federal government. I'm very proud of you. We have 2 children. Sarah Marie is our daughter. She's a speech pathologist. She is the former president of the Junior League of Fayetteville. She's the former president of her college sorority. She's going to be leaving to go to a conference today after this ceremony. I'm very proud of her accomplishments. She's always there for our family, especially when I was gone a lot from North Carolina. Thank you, Sarah Marie. My son, Tommy Daughtry Jr., he is a leader, he is a coach, he is a teacher. When I got back from one of the deployments, the church that we got married in asked us to come over, and they asked my son, we call him TJ, what do you think about your dad coming back home? And he says, sir, he says, I have the same name. I thought that was an excellent answer, and I was very proud of him, and I love both of you. My granddaughter, Addie Kate Carson, and my grandson Trace, both outstanding athletes, both excellent students, and they are both very happy with our 2 dogs, Buttons and Prissy. It's very important that I mention, although they have passed, my father, Cliff Daughtry. He was a farm boy, and then he became a first-class carpenter at Fort Bragg in Camp Lejeune, and then he started a fish market and a grocery store. Very successful, big in the church. He was the head deacon of our church. He was a Sunday school teacher for over 40 years. My mother, Margaret Daughtry, was a farm girl. Her dad started a cafe, barbecue, chicken, stuff like that. And they were called the Cannon Cafe. And when I worked at the Pentagon and in Washington on a couple occasions, I had to take barbecue from Cannon's Cafe to the Pentagon. I thought that was pretty cool. Both of them were deacons, married 55 years of marriage, 65 years as a member of the same church. My mother did a lot with women's missionary and used to take me to the prison camp for missions, taught me a lot about serving others that were in need. I love both of them dearly. I am God-loving. I believe in the power of prayer. I am God-fearing. But I do have hope and faith in everything that we do. It's always good to take a breath, step back, and say your prayers, because how did you get here? You know, people are wonderful, but there's also a mighty power. When I promoted CW5, Jock Nixon to CW5, we had the ceremony. Well, when we did it for CW4, he was in Afghanistan. We did a VTC with the general. So he asked me, he says, I'm going to bring my family from Mississippi, and he said, I'd like for you to be a guest speaker at my promotion. And I knew they were very religious. And I says, I'd be glad to do that. So after the ceremony, which was very successful, fun-loving, one of the senior leaders came to me, he says, Chief, he says, I know you're a good chief, but I didn't know you were a preacher. I said, sir, I did it for that family. I didn't do it for us. Because that's how they felt. They needed to know that Jock was in good hands. We go all the way back to Belgium. Jock was an NCO. And when you worked at the 4-star level, General George Edwin was the commanding general. Regardless of rank, you better be right and you better be on time. Jock was that. I've seen him in action. He came to me, he says, Chief Daughtry, can you help me become a warrant officer? I says, well, I'll get you some training, but I can't make no guarantees. Today he was recognized as a distinguished member of the AG Regiment. Chief Warrant Officer 5 from the rank of Staff Sergeant, just like I did. Because the leaders out here took the time to teach me right. So I look at about myself, you know. I always like to start off, airborne. General McNeil did that. That was his first word on his change of command at Sicily Drop Zone. And I said, one day when I get older and bolder, I said, I'm going to say the same word just like he did when he gave his speech. And you know what? I think it was pretty successful. He went all the way from 2-star to 4-star in just a matter of a short time. He's one of the guys that loves AG Corps. He just loves being a soldier. He's retired, but he is a pure soldier every day. Saw him last week doing PT, and we had to stop and talk about going on our fishing trip together. So who am I as a soldier? Goes back about 45 years. Private Daughtry. First train ride, the Army paid for my ticket to Fort Jackson, right here. Basic combat training. Vietnam was still going on. My best friend was in Vietnam. And he said, well, how about joining the Army? I said, well, I got to think about it. Okay, well, I have 3 cousins. We all were going to join the Army, okay? Tony, Joseph, and myself. I was the only one that joined the Army. My first plane ride, I jumped out of a C-141, started up to Fort Benning, Georgia. Now that was something. You say, well, you can jump out of a plane, that ain't too bad. Well, in a C-141 and your first time ever, it's such you out. I had a bruise up here, the size of a cantaloupe. Everything is 82nd. Everything is 82. Last couple of briefings and conferences I attended, they says, oh no, there's Chief Daughtry. He's got an 82-minute speech. That ain't quite true. I rehearsed this speech 5 times. I got it down to 13 minutes. I like to get the job done and have it right. But you know, there's some people I got to thank. It starts back to Major Linwood Thornton. We used to run together, went to school together. He gave me that ooth. You can go do anything you want to do, young man. Sergeant Graybill was a brilliant soldier. Sergeant E5, he could figure out anything. We both met Lieutenant Byrne, now retired General Byrne, at the same time. And we said, boy, Lieutenant Byrne took about 15 minutes with us and started talking. We were in Personal Actions Branch. And I was amazed at what we learned in 15 minutes. I said, that officer's gonna go somewhere. And Sergeant Graybill agreed with me. Sergeant Graybill was infantry shadow clerk for Captain Dan K. McNeil. First Sergeant Shepard was my first sergeant. He looked just like Andy Griffin. He was current Art Strange's next door neighbor, and had a lot of kids, and he had a lot of patience with us. He says, Private Daughtry, and on some days, especially on Friday, he called me Command, DFC. He says, we got a lot to do, but I know you're going to do it. Right off the bat, once they found out I was a good clerk, more importantly, a good typist, they put me in doing 53 OERs. So if you can imagine back in that's in the 70s, there's no electrons. This is all Underwood, Corona. First Sergeant Curtis O. Benson, 3 times to Vietnam. He come back, he used to ride broncs out west. He came back in the Army, and he took me to the side. He said, Private Daughtry, he said, you got to get it together. He said, you ever heard about the 3 bears? I said, sure, we all know the 3 bears. He says, no, my 3 bears. Bare feet, bare table, and bare bottom. From that point on, we had a tremendous career. He believed in sending me to college at night and got me started. My first mentor as a warrant officer, Mr. E.L. North, Chief Warrant Officer North. The generals and the colonels called him Manning. Right, Colonel Mossa? He had dry rot from Vietnam, so he did not wear boots every day to work. 31 years active duty. But when we needed rapid deployment, he was the man to put the plan together. He saw something in me, called me up there. He said, Staff Sergeant Daughtry, come to my office. He says, I'm going to give you a hard section to work. I want you to go out there and I want you to represent POR, preposition for replacements. POV on the old preparation for overseas movement. In the 82nd Airborne, that was very important. I went there as a staff sergeant. We did 54,000 soldiers, paratroopers, under Mr. North while I was there. He then says, oh, you done so good. He gave me out processing all night. As you all know, if you're from the Fort Bragg area, out processing, I mean, across the Army is very difficult to get everything just right. Your pre-214s, everything has to be just right. But anyway, he says, I want you to put in a warrant packet. And my sergeant major, my first sergeant, I went to the first sergeant admin course. I was doing PT, I was doing cadence. So it's like, okay, Sergeant Major McMillan, okay, how are we going to handle this? And it finally worked out. And I'm here today as a Chief Warrant Officer. From the farm fields to the battlefields, ladies and gentlemen. 1986, performed as an adjutant in the CID change of command as a Chief Warrant Officer. So proud that day to conduct that change of command ceremony. 1987, served as a PSC commander on a forward deployment. 1987, I was the liaison for general officers and VIPs. We were in the classified area. One of the generals, I went to pick him up. It's about 6:15 in the morning. His name was Major General Sutton, Fort Bragg. And I said, "Sir, good morning. I'm Chief Warrant Officer Daughtry." I said, "I'm your liaison." He said, "What's good about it, Chief?" He says, "I can't get no coffee over here." Well, it's a good warrant officer. You know, I got a knife, I got a screwdriver, I got a number 2 pencil. And he had taken his aide and his command sergeant major with him, but he didn't take his Chief Warrant Officer. We all know who he is, J.B. King. J.B. was his warrant officer. He says, "I left him back at Bragg." I said, "Yes, sir. By the grace of God, I took a number 2 pencil, went over there where the plug was at, and I jammed it in. The coffee pot thing came on. He says, "I will never go anywhere again without my Chief Warrant Officer." Big thanks to Colonel Retired Mccoullough. Not only was he my company commander, but he also deployed me Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and I thank you, sir, for that. Made all the difference in the world. It's like a race car driver. When you train for almost 19 years and you don't deploy, you know, and you're almost deployed 2 other times, but it didn't quite happen because we were so good that people returned to our base. But that was a great beginning for me. Commander, DSC, retired Colonel Tim Robertson. Tremendous times we had there in the desert. And I thank you, sir, for all of that. '94, sad time before Bragg, plane crash. Plane crash at Pope. I was picked to be the liaison. I was in the EOC. The G1 came and got me. He said, "Go pack a bag." I was on the general's helicopter, 2 pilots and me, flew up to UNC Chapel Hill, and then I flew to Banshee. So that's a very difficult time, but we got through it, and I learned so much from it, and I'm so thankful that so many of them survived. The commander at that time was Lieutenant Colonel McChrystal. I go over to Shape Headquarters, 1995, General Jowin. General Jowin said to me, he says, "You like sports, Chief?" I said, "Yes, sir." He gave me the responsibility to win the UConn softball championship. Well, I didn't do it, but the team did. And both years in a row, we brought home the UConn championship, and he never forgot it. And I was so happy. We had Russia come over to visit. When Russia came over, we had some coordination, sort of like a goodwill. So he said I was so good in ball games, he had to plant some trees. Guess who had to plant them? My admin section for General Jowin. His guidance to me was, "Chief, I know you came from Fort Bragg. Don't let these trees die." I said, "Airborne, sir." He said, "Cut out the airborne." 2001, 911 Pentagon. I was in Joint Staff. I was a Red Hat team member. Red Hat means you help evacuate everyone out safely. That was a very tough time for all of us. We lost a lot of great people. I still think about those days, but I didn't get much break at that time. If you remember, we had the anthrax scare. So we brought in 17 doctors and scientists from Fort Detrick to the Pentagon. One of my responsibilities was responsible for mail. For who? The chairman, the vice chairman, the joint chiefs, the assistant to the chairman, the director, the vice director. So I had to coordinate with Fort Detrick and build a special mail road that we could detect anthrax. There was like 18 of us total. So one of them, on the morning we had a briefing says, well, what should we call you? I said, how about Chief Doctor, sir? So then on, they started calling me Chief Doctor. We got it built safely, we had it tested, and about 6 of us did the mail that way for several months. That was a phenomenal feat during 911. General Siemens, he was our G1 Corps, 18th Airborne Corps. We go on the jump, Special Forces jump, we call them fun jumps. And there's a joke at Fort Bragg. Sergeant Doctor, Chief Doctor has 119 cousins. So we jump, successful, we're doing high fives, it was great. General Siemens, I said, sir, you got a minute? He said, yeah. I said, I want to get a picture of me, you, and my cousin. And he said, your cousin? I said, yes, sir. I said, this is Vince Higgins, Special Forces. How about take a picture with us? So verified that my cousin was there on the drop zone with us. Joke about my cousins was nobody can lay brick, can fix a car, and no electrical work. We always had to hire that out. Colonel S. Bowen, he's one of my legends. He's taught me well for many decades. He calls me up, I think it was on a Friday afternoon. Chief, I'm flying to Hawaii to brief a bunch of dentists. You got any real war stories for me? I said, sir, yeah, I do. I says, we had a flyaway, we had a POR, and the commander, the ground commander overrode and sent one of the Special Forces soldiers to the area to take care of the mission. Told him we'd get his medical problem fixed when we safely got back. He went over there, led the way over to Hawaii, sir. I appreciate everything you've done. You have led the way for us in the 82nd Airborne Division and in the AG Corps. He keeps on giving. He's one of those leaders that just keeps on giving. CW5 Enriquez. We jumped with the Golden Knights. We were certifying the aircraft. Rico could get us to jump anywhere if we had to. He's helping many a person. And Rico says, come on, let's go jump with the Golden Knights. Well, I didn't know exactly what we were going to do. But we were one of the first ones out of the aircraft. Well, before we got on the aircraft, he says, what are y'all? And I said, well, I'm a personnel warrant officer. No, I know you're not a personnel warrant officer. I said, yeah, I am. He says, no, I don't. He said, I don't think you are. I said, sure I am. Anyway, we went and we jumped, and they thought that we were from military intelligence. Rico was a smart one, though. He can go incognito. He was in Colombia. He blended in well, right, Rico? Thank you for what you've done. People like you and Pam Johnson. We go way back. A lot of distinguished leaders' names were mentioned today. It's very important. And I'm very proud to have been part of this team. On the NCO side, Master Sergeant Crispy Robbery, Matt Nelson, Rayo Emerson was some of the great ones I worked with. Sergeant Chris Lyons, Sergeant Major Chris Lyons, phenomenal. Randy Limer, phenomenal. Carried through all kinds of heavy lifting. I mentioned CW3 J.B. King, Colonel Chris Ladra, Roy Lester were the first two on the ground when we went to Desert Shield. Phenomenal job. I was very proud to be part of that team. Master Sergeant Lucy Spade, CV5 Tony Clavia, Dan Logan, Jerry Dillard, Gerald Sims, Stan Freeman, Rick Ford, John Harrison. Tony was my first mentor. Dan was my second. But everywhere I followed Stan Freeman, perfect operation. Couldn't ask for anything more. And to see people like Lieutenant Al Coconel, General, tremendous John Senna, Colonel Senna, General Bob Bennett, just tremendous leaders that have grown through the ranks because of you taking the time, the extra time. In closing, I just want to say that it's been an honor. Daily we do the paperwork to no end, but if a bullet's required instead of a pen, we, the AG soldiers, stand ready to pull the trigger and win. All the way, airborne. God bless the AG Corps. God bless us all.
Our next inductee is Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Edwin Nieves Beauchamp. CW5 Nieves service is widely recognized throughout the Special Forces community, and he retired in 2012. Please welcome Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Edwin Nieves Beauchamp into the Hall of Fame class 2017.
Can't see without my eyes. So, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to do a 101-minute speech. That's all, in honor of the 101st Airborne Division, which I spent 12 years. So, Tommy, I'm outdoing you, buddy. Distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, families, welcome. To my fellow Hall of Famers and their families, congratulations on your selection. I am honored to be part of you guys and look forward to the day. I have a quote here from former President Barack Obama, and he said, "If you were successful, somebody along the way or somebody along the lines gave you some help." And that's true with me and many of you guys. I want to say thanks to the soldiers, NCO, officers, civilians who I worked with my 29 years of service. Without them, I would not be here today. And I'm sure that you guys can relate to that because we are who we are, with tremendous help from all those guys, the NCO Corps, the junior soldiers, the civilians, and the officers that we work with. Unlike my friend Tommy Daughtry, he's a smart man. He went to urban school when he was a young soldier. I'm an idiot. I went to urban school when I was 50 years old. So, if he has a big bruise in his chest, when I landed on my first jump, I thought that I broke every bone. So, Tommy, smart man, you did it right. Who am I? I am a blessed old Puerto Rican soldier, and I'm talking old. I came when I was 29, and I served 29, so I was old. I'm still old. Now, I consider myself very lucky, and I said that I've been mostly at the right place, at the right time, most of my Army life. There's an exception to that, and that exception almost changed who I am. It is 3:30 a.m., January 29, 1983, and I reported to Fort Knox, Kentucky, basic training. And I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, and I am dead tired, and there's a bunch of young specialists screaming at us, at all the recruits. And they ask, anyone who thinks that he wants out, this is your chance. So a lot of the soldiers start raising their hands, and I went like, almost quit, but I told myself, can't quit on day one. Perhaps at the 4-year mark, but never at day one. So I stayed in, and I will tell you, I think that decision that I made about staying was great. I always considered the Army and what I did a perfect match. Loved the military career, loved what I did, loved the people, and so for me it was a perfect match. When I joined directly from Puerto Rico, where I was a vocational high school teacher. All guy, decided to join the military. Like many of you guys, what we do is we seek a little education. So I told myself, I joined, do 4 years, come out, become a lawyer, and that plan changed really fast. Again, the Army was a perfect match. Basically, at year number 2, I knew that I was going to stay dirty. And so those changes, those plans changed a little bit, but I will tell you, I have always tried my best and given my best, and I have supported our country, and I was a proud member of the AG Corps and have been always a supporter of the AG Corps. Been an ardent support of the regiments and the local chapters where I serve in a myriad of positions, and always enjoy our Corps and our regimental chapters and do my best to support the Corps. I have never expected anything, and so today I've been here, sir, thank you too. This is an honor for me and my wife Sherry, because again, we give and we don't expect anything. So anything that comes along is a great honor for us. Along the 29 years of service, I have encountered a lot of folks, special folks. Some of these folks shape who I am on my military life. And I want to thank some of the folks that are more direct. I want to thank my special teacher, mentor, my wife Sherry, for her support throughout my military service. She has been not only my spouse, but my best friend, coach, mentor, teacher, and she also fills many other roles. Thank you, sweetie. I don't want to forget also those who saw something special in me, and believe in me. These mentors who I'll always be grateful are a young sergeant. Back in 1983, her name was Karen Ashwin, during my first duty station of Pirmasens, Germany. Second, Command Sergeant Major John Gathers at my second duty station in Germany, who, when I arrived at Schaffenburg, I told him, Sergeant, I'm getting out. Don't waste your time. And he said, no, you can't get out. You have to give me a chance. Give me 3 months. If in 3 months we don't meet the expectation, you can get out. And 29 years later, I served, thanks to him. From the 101st, Colonel Phil McNair, who was the battalion commander from 95 to 97, and gave me assignments that are not typical to a CW2 AG. I was the 1st Battalion S4, and then company commander. And when he gave me a Battalion S4 as an AG guy, I said, sir, you're crazy if you think that I can do the job. He said, no, you can do the job. So to him, I'm very grateful that he did that, and he trusted me and gave me that push to become a little better person, and did a lot of mentoring. And finally, today I'm very fortunate to have several mentors and peers here who above all have given me their friendships, which I always treasure. And these fellow soldiers inspire me during my many years in the military, and they are Colonel Al Wally, who's here, out from 2ID Korea, my dear friend C-Logify Jerry Diller, way back from 1991 in Cape Town, Germany, my dear friend Coral Jones, who was our former Corps Chief from our days in Ashwin, where we were both E4, E5 in Ashwin back in the day. And last, Sergeant First Class retired Mary Gathers, she's also here. Thank you, Mary. To you, dear friends, and thank you for sharing this day. I know that you guys, some of you travel far, and I appreciate your friendship, and I know that you guys have always supported me and will continue to support me. And to you all here, thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys the rest of the day. Airborne.
Our 6th inductee is Command Sergeant Major retired Darlene C. Haygood. Command Sergeant Major Haygood entered the Army in 1986. She served in multiple assignments to include serving as a Command Sergeant Major for 3 different organizations, culminating as the 6th Adjutant General's Corps Regimental Command Sergeant Major. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Command Sergeant Major retired Darlene C. Haygood into the Hall of Fame class of 2017.
Because you will definitely need them. Maybe. First of all, I truly want to give honor unto God, who is the reason that I stand here on today. With a lot of your help, I stand here. But he is the reason that I stand here on today. I did as my daughter asked me to do. First Lieutenant Renee Haygood, an AG warrior. She asked me, she said, Mom, have you wrote your speech? And I said, you know, I don't write speeches. I make some notes and I make my comments. I wrote my speech. I purposely brought this in like this. So when they saw this, they would say, I know she is not going to talk that long. Because they know I can talk. But again, I truly give honor unto God for being here. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Who would have thought this would have been God's plan for this little black girl from Greenville, South Carolina. I didn't think it would have been his plan for me. But I am so proud to stand here before you today to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with my other honorees. To be honored for what God has allowed me to do in over 25 years of service to our soldiers and to our nation. And I just wanted to take you on a journey with me. I've got some timekeepers. And a journey starts, and before I continue on, I do honor those, our VIPs that are here on today. And it takes a village. It took a village to get me here today, a village of family and friends. And I would dare not ask all of my family and my friends who came from all over to share this day, this moment with me, to stand. Would you please stand? If you came to be a part of this moment, this history-making moment with our family on today, I would ask you to stand. And I asked you to stand because I put these guys, I'm sure they said it, I put them through the ringer to make sure you all had seats. Okay, you can have a seat. And I know that I have family and friends in the overflow as well. But, so you know I really needed the seats. Bill, you know I really needed the seats. And I do thank the AG Corps and everybody who worked on this. I thank you very much for making this a special day. But this journey I want to take you on, and I'll take you on it very quickly. It started when Joe Louis Mayfield and Betty Downs decided to hook up and plant the seed that they would later call Darlene. And I was blessed to be raised in a home with my 4 sisters, my oldest sister, Brenda Mayfield, who, those of you that are at Fort Bragg, working at ForceCom, you have the honor of serving with her. Those of you that are working in Postal, and you see the changes that are happening in Postal, you get to see her work being done, the great work that she's been able to do in Postal. I am so proud of her. I'm so proud of you, Sergeant First Class Brenda Mayfield. She's in the overflow with my uncle. When she came in the Army, she came in at the very last moment she could come in. And when she came in and she was talking to me about it, I said, do not go AG. What did she do? She goes AG. But I am so proud that she did. And she has passion about what she's doing with Postal. And I thank God that she is enjoying what she's doing. And then some of you may know this tall, crazy guy that some people can't believe that we're related. There were some people thought that we were actually going together when we were at the Sergeant Major's Academy, because we had different last names. His is Mayfield, mine is Haygood. And that is my brother, retired Command Sergeant Major Joseph Mayfield. When people call him Joe, I'm like, he's not my dad. Because we call my dad Joe. We call my dad Dad. Everybody else calls him Joe. We call my brother Gerald. But I am so proud of him in his over 30 years in the military. I tease his wife, my sister, when we're talking about how crazy he is. I said, I didn't have a choice. You chose that. And her response always is, And I know, and I'm glad that I did. And then my sister, Tonette, who is not here with us today, or I have not heard her. I'm not sure she's in the overflow. I love her. She's the crazy one. She's the one that keeps us laughing. And my sister Hattie, who is also a vet. She served in the Navy. Thank you for your service. And my sister BJ, who, if you know me and you've been on my Facebook page, you know her. I call her my oldest child because many of you have prayed for her. And I know that she hates that she couldn't be here in flesh, but I know that she's here in spirit. And if somebody is recording this, BJ, I feel your spirit here. And thank you. Nobody could ask for better parents than I had. I know my mom is looking down. And Gerald, I know she's saying that she's proud.
And stop crying.
I love you, Mom, and I know that you're proud. I have friends here, Stuart and Martha Spinks. I grew up with them. We grew up, their family. When on my list, I put their family. I grew up babysitting their kids. My dad has enjoyed being a part of their company for over 40-something years. We all want him to retire, but he doesn't want to retire. And they're pillars in the community. So every time you go fill up your gas, every time you go fill up your car at the Spinks gas station, thank you for keeping my dad employed. And thank you guys so much for coming down. My friend, William Hicks. Wow. Part of the Pack Rat team. My first assignment in Mannheim, Germany, transportation. And every time I've said I was doing something, William has always showed up for the Pack team. My first assignment, Sergeant First Class Gregory T. Brandt, taught me a very valuable lesson. He told me, he said, you don't have to be political, but you need to learn how to politic. And he said, what I mean by that is, you need to learn how to work with and how to read people. He said, not for yourself, but for the work that you want to be able to do for soldiers that you want to take care of. Because he knew even as a young soldier, I wanted to take care of soldiers. And he said, in order to do that, you've got to be able to read people. You got to know how to greet them. You got to know, okay, how to deal with this person and how to deal with that person to get the help that you need to get for yourself. I left from Germany, this hard charging, brand new promoted sergeant. So brand new that when I got to Edgewood, they said, Specialist Haygood, and I was like, no, I'm Sergeant Haygood. And they were like, well, we don't have you in the system. And I was like, I have my orders. Because I was like, I worked hard for this. I had to go to the board for this. And going to boards is not something I enjoy doing. And I was 8 months pregnant. And they said, don't come to work. You call us every day, let us know you're okay. Let us know when you have the baby, and then you come to work after you have the baby. And they're working with drill sergeants, with the Ordnance Corps, I remember having a conversation with Mrs. Salters, at the time Colonel Salters, a brigade commander who had my back, because I was his young staff sergeant who was doing duty rosters for officers on Aberdeen Proving Ground. And when they felt like that they didn't put their leaves in time or do what they needed to do, then they can come and talk crazy to the staff sergeant. And I was supposed to change the duty roster. And Colonel Salters told me, he said, as long as you do what you're supposed to do and you do it right, and I will have your back. And every time he did. And he taught me that as a leader, when your soldiers do the right thing by your soldiers. Go to bat for them. And leaving Aberdeen Proving Ground, we came to Fort Jackson, and a wonderful leader, Major Handy, he owned Egg Roll Express. I worked at the transition point. He taught me a very valuable lesson in choosing my battles. He said, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be a fight. Sometimes you have to choose what you're going to fight for your soldiers. Left Fort Jackson by myself, which was crazy. I'd never PCS by myself before. I went to Germany, and in Germany, let me go back. At Fort Jackson, I was the admin NCO, but I had a soldier that worked for me that helped me to make a decision, the best decision that I ever made in my life, the decision to choose God for real. I had been talking about God, I had been going to church, but being under her, hearing her passion about God, she helped me to choose God for real. And I thanked her for that. I'm going to fast forward to my history-making moments. I went to Fort Hood, had an awesome time at Fort Hood, knew nothing about Fort Hood other than the fact that people said they deployed all the time. And at the time when they were telling us we were going to go to Fort Hood, I was already deployed because we were in Germany with the postal company. And I was like, I don't want to go to Fort Hood because they're going to deploy. And I thought going to Fort Sill would be a better option because I didn't know anything about Fort Sill either. Only to find out the next day, they said, no, we can't get you to Fort Sill. You and your husband together. We can only get you to Fort Hood. So going to Fort Hood, I am so thankful that we went there because I know that I had leadership opportunities there that I may not have had anywhere else. Leadership opportunities that allowed me as a brand new promoted Sergeant First Class to serve in Master Sergeant positions, as a new Sergeant First Class to have a detachment, serve as a detachment sergeant for the 3rd Personnel Group. I got any 3rd Personnel Group warriors in here? And so you know that the group was larger than the battalions. You had 2 platoons that serviced the installation and 2 platoons that serviced 3rd Personnel Group. But I also got a chance to learn how to work with civilians. And I had a civilian by the name of Mr. Mccoullough. He said, if you make relationships with the civilians and those officers that really control your soldiers, you have a relationship with them and they'll help you. And that's exactly what I did. And I never had any issues with getting my soldiers to training and getting them to do the things that they needed to do. But I also had an opportunity to work with this awesome guy there. And I was telling somebody about his story last night. this guy that came from this armored unit, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, sir? I think I saw him somewhere. That had never worked with females before. And I told him, I said, sir, I don't care who comes in here, what female comes in here, I don't care what's going on. I don't care if they're boo-hooing or what. I said, you do not let a female go in your office with you. I said, if it's that bad, they can sit right out here and cry until I get back. But you can find another female to come and sit with them, but they do not go in your office without me. And I am so proud that I got to see full bird Colonel John Althoff. Man. When I see him and I see this officer that I got to mentor, because of course some female tried going in his office and him being the big-hearted person that he is, he's like, but first time she was crying and I didn't close the door all the way. I was like, sir, I told you not to let these females in your office. So I kicked her out. But sir, I am so proud of you, and I am so happy to see that eagle on your chest. So happy. I left from there, went to Korea. Left from Korea, came back to Fort Hood, where I got to serve as the MWR Sergeant Major, where I got an opportunity to see what MWR was all about and how important it is to our soldiers. And for the first time during all these times that we were having these big celebrations and bringing our soldiers back from the war, that we were able to bring Bishop T.D. Jakes to Fort Hood, Texas, that we were able to give those who wanted faith in that celebration. We were able to give them faith in that celebration. But what I found out from leaving from Fort Hood, I would leave from there going on an assignment to Korea, then an assignment to the Sergeant Major's Academy, where, unless somebody tells me different, to this day I think me and my brother are the only sister and brother that have went to the Sergeant Major's Academy at the same time. People didn't believe we were blood sisters and brothers. But I enjoyed going to the academy with him. Left from there, and as I looked back over my career, and I said, yesterday, I went on the tour that they had for us. I wasn't going to go. It was like, I've been here at Fort Jackson, I don't need to do this tour. But what I realized was that I had an opportunity to touch every area that our Corps represents. And I came in as a 71 Lima. I came in as a 71 Lima. We did human resource. I did postal. I had experience with recruiting, experience with MWR, and experience with the band. To touch some of everything. And when I looked at what God allowed me to experience, and why this very moment is so much more important to me, is that He allowed me to make history. When I served with Eastern Sector, MEPCOM, with my battle buddy and friend for life, retired General Barry Price, I was the first female Command Sergeant Major to serve in that position. When I came here to the schoolhouse, I was the first female Regimental Command Sergeant Major where I got the opportunity to serve with my battle buddy for life, Colonel Robert L. Manning. Who would have known God would have chosen me for these assignments? When you look at the board as we go up today, you will notice that I am the first female non-commissioned officer inducted into the Hall of Fame. You will also notice that I am the first African American female inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I don't say those things to brag on myself. I say them so that you can hear them in your hearing, and that you may share them with some young girl, some young soldier, to let them know that they may not do it like everybody else that does it, but God can choose them to do great things. And I will close talking about the people that made the greatest sacrifices for the 25.5 years that I put in the Army. My husband and my 2 girls. I thank God that my husband loves me in spite of my good days and my not so good days. I may run a lot of things as a soldier, but I run nothing at home. He is in charge because I know the order of the home. My girls gave up a lot. They gave up time. They gave up memories. Things that we can't get back. But I thank God that He made it so that I punched my own time clock, because He gave me a ministry to work with people, to still be able to give back to the community. And I plan on taking the rest of my life, spending the rest of my life, giving my time to you guys. And Shanae, I know that you're in the overflow. I love you guys so much. Journey, I thank you for allowing me to be your Nana. I look forward to the time that God is going to give us together. And I thank each and every one of you. Mary, I thank you for coming. Thank you. I thank you because each of you that I've worked with, that I've served with, you have a part in me standing here today. You have a part in the history that God allowed me to make. Thank you for being a part of this awesome celebration on today.
Our final member of the class of 2017 is Command Sergeant Major retired Freddie Lash. Command Sergeant Major Lash diligently served our Army for 28 years. During his stellar career, he served in multiple assignments, to include serving as a Command Sergeant Major for 5 different organizations and as the 2nd Adjutant General's Corps Regimental Command Sergeant Major. Please welcome Command Sergeant Major retired Freddie Lash into the Hall of Fame class of 2017.
everybody's sitting out there and they're saying, Fred, you're last. Fred, it's almost 12 o'clock. Fred, my stomach is just rolling. Can you make it quick? I'm going to do my best. My wife was sitting there and said, 10 minutes, buddy. I understand. I'll make it quick. And I did write down some remarks. And I think I'll stick to my script because I was just going to say, stand back and just start talking, but I talk a lot also. So I just sort of stick to my script and hopefully I can just roll right on through this. Again, good morning to our general officers, warrant officers, non-commissioned officers, soldiers, civilian family, friends, and my wife, Linda F. Lash. Today I stand before you humble and very thankful. The Lord is good all the time. When I joined the Army 30 plus years ago, I never had any idea that a little country boy from Columbus, Mississippi would be standing before you today. God is good. Yes. You know, there are many people that have helped train, mentor, lead, guide me along the way to make it to this particular day. Just for a moment, what I would ask you to do is just sit there for a moment, maybe even close your eyes and just reflect back for a second. And there'll be people that will come in your mind that, oh man, oh yeah, Sergeant this, General this, Major this, that had some type of special impact or made a difference in your life in some small, special way. So as I was writing this, I stood back and I did just the same. I said, well, there are some people that actually propel me to move forward to be where I am today. I began 30 years ago as an Army career. I initially came in as a 13 Bravo, which is a field artilleryman. Now I tell you, because I didn't know the AG Corps was the AG Corps. And then the other piece of that was, as a young person coming into the military, there was something I was looking for, and that was some dollar bills. So the field artillery offered me that. They gave me a nice big fat bonus. So as a result of that, I bought my first car. Cool. So, but here's the other good piece of that, is that being a 13 Bravo, and then actually seeing the light after 4 years, it gave me an opportunity to reclass. I saw the light and I reclassed to be an AG warrior. 75 Hotel, 75 Bravo, 42. I was blessed to serve, out of those 30 years, 26 of those years as an AG warrior. To have great mentors and leaders who cared enough to sit down with me and show me what right looked like. They talked to me about how to be a good soldier, how to be a good follower. To be a good leader, you need to be a good follower. How to accept training, listen to your mentors. And as a result of that, if you do all those things that they're telling you to do, it will enable commanders to take care of soldiers and their families. I would like to thank the AG Corps Hall of Fame board members that selected me, little old me, for the honor. Special thanks to General Reuben Jones, General Earl Sims, and Command Sergeant Major Michael Umstead, who thought enough of me to submit my nomination packet to the Hall of Fame. I am deeply thankful and honored. Before I continue, I would like to give special recognition and thanks to my wonderful family. My battle buddy, the heart and soul of my family, the real Sergeant Major of the Lash family, Linda Lash. I have with me today my amazing two daughters, Angel and Brittany. I have some super grandkids, Mariah, Donovan, Isabella. Thank you all for being so awesome. I love you. I would like to also recognize some of the great people in the audience today who took time out of their busy schedules to share this special moment with me. and my family. In no particular order, I will call your name and I'd ask you just wave so the people can see. Mrs. Marr, thank you. General Earl Sims, you know, he's very special to me. He's always been there for me. And I'm going to share this quick story with you. You know, sometimes in the military, you'll come, you'll go. When I retired from the military in 2004, I signed up to be a contractor. I took off and went overseas, stayed in Iraq, stayed in Doha for about 7 years. Never intended that to happen. My wife agreed to let me go and stay a year, but later on it ended up being 7 years. Thinking I could get back to Columbus, South Carolina, I thought I had a job here, but I ended up staying in Washington, D.C., working on Pennsylvania Avenue for a couple of years. Got ready to leave there, thought I was still coming back. They offered me a job in Virginia, so I stayed another couple of years. Traveling back and forth up and down the highway, coming to see my family as often as I possibly could. If I remember correctly, it was February 28, 2016, I get a call from General Sims. He said, Fred, I know you've been trying to get back to South Carolina to be with your family. I said, sir, you're exactly right. He said, well, we may have something for you. I said, you serious? Come 1 April, he set everything up for me. I went to the interview, I got hired, and 1 April 2016, thanks to General Sims, I'm back in Columbus, South Carolina with my family, working right here. Thank you, sir. I'd like to also recognize my two sister-in-laws that traveled from, well, about 8 hours through the rain, and I almost turned around last night because weather got a little bad, but Mrs. Doris Jones, Janice Young, thank you for coming. Bishop Vince and Mrs. Krista Collins, awesome ministry team. Thank you so much. Apostle Ronaldo Turner, I'm not sure if he made it today. Oh, there he is. Cool. You know, there he is. I'm looking for you. There he is. But, you know, my first battalion was 24th Infantry Battalion out of Fort Stewart, Georgia. And, you know, as leaders, you're always trying to push your soldiers to do more than just the norm. So he took the challenge. And, you know, if any of you all know about the prestigious Artie Murphy Club, he took the challenge, and he was the very first in my battalion and the very first soldier in NCO that I had to push forward and become a member of that prestigious Artie Murphy Club. Thank you. I'm proud of you. Cool. My first battalion commander was Colonel Rose Walker, and they told me that she's still in the area somewhere. Awesome commander. And we worked together so well as a team. Thank you, ma'am. Colonel retired Troy Clay. He was a finance officer, but he became a very good friend of mine, a very good mentor, a very smart man. Colonel retired John P. Heroic. That's my Marine friend who works in the same building with me right now, who gives me outstanding support. My Marine friend, he's the director of the Master Resilience School. John, if you're in here, I really, truly appreciate it. Major Miguel, who is the deputy for the Master Resilience School. Sir, if you're here, I appreciate it. Command Sergeant Major Michael Umstead. Soldier, my friend. You know, he is forever, always doing something for somebody. I want to be like you when I grow up. Command Sergeant Major retired Scotty Thomas, now Dr. Thomas. Cool, appreciate you. Command Sergeant Major Bernadette Phillips, who sort of came up during the time that I was here with the help of Sergeant Major Armstead and myself. She took the challenge. Went to the boards, won some of those boards, but I still wanted some more Audie Murphy people. She took the challenge. And that's another one of our Audie Murphy winners. Thank you, I'm proud of you. Mrs. Cynthia Wright, where you at? You know, when you're in a command position, you think you know what you're doing, but unless you got somebody like Sergeant Wright, who was the executive administrative assistant that kept you on track and showed you what right looked like, Sergeant Major, no, here's what you need to do. I appreciate that. You made a difference. Thank you so much. Today, I work with a super team as a retired guy of professionals all here at Fort Jackson. And I don't know how many of you all have heard of the Comprehensive Soldier and Family Fitness Team. It's a team of about 8 of us. And I'm going to tell you, they're the best of the best. They go out and we're sent here to support the Commanding General. And we work all over the place, basic training, drill sergeant school. We do whatever it takes to support and take care of soldiers. We got Dr. Treva Anderson, Mrs. Tarsha McFadden, Mr. Dave Williams, Mr. Robert Schultz, and Mr. Tony Best, who also is part of our team, but he works for the Walter Reed Medical Institute. Thank all of you all for coming today. I appreciate it. Over the last 30 years, I've had some wonderful assignments both overseas and stateside. I say again, there were great leaders and mentors and friends who took the time to share with me what being an AG soldier was all about. We had an awesome responsibility to assist the commander in war and in peace, provide superior personnel support to soldiers, families, and civilians. Now let me very quickly mention a few that in some special way, like I told you earlier, just sit back and think for a minute, close your eyes, who automatically just comes back and say, you know, I remember that particular person because they did something to help propel me to be what I can be today. Let me just mention 3 or 4 names for you. Command Sergeant Major Harry Vogel, some of y'all may know him. Awesome mentor. He used to always call me and say, are you ready to move to the next level? I said, well, I guess I am, Sergeant. And he would actually sit me down, and take my records, go through them with me, tell me what schools I need to go to, tell me this, tell me that, tell me that. And he would always, are you ready to go to the next level? And I really appreciate that. Command Sergeant Major Emily Miles, who gave me an opportunity to be a first sergeant at the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy and her deputy commandant. Had a chance to touch and reach a bunch of soldiers, and I really appreciate it. Colonel Rose Walker, I mentioned her name again. General Earl Sims, I mentioned his name again. General Earl Stanton, Edgar Stanton, and General Mike Rochelle. All of those, they just inspired me to be the best I could be. As a leader, I learned that you must set and be the example for your soldiers. Let me quickly share with you a piece of a soldier's request that was given to me by another soldier. And as he gave it to me, I sit there and I looked. And I wasn't a sergeant yet, but I wanted to be a sergeant because I know sergeants lead, train, and take care of soldiers and their families. So my desire was to be that. Let me read just a few. Treat me with respect, Sergeant. Do not break my spirit with your words, Sergeant. Speak with me often, Sergeant, for the praise and the counseling you give is expected. Train me to be self-sufficient. Sergeant, train me to one day be a sergeant. That was my desire. And I looked at that, I said, wow, that's what I would like for my sergeant to do to me. And then I thought, now, if you're blessed to become a sergeant, you've got to give that back and bring others to where you are. And I put that in my spirit, and that's what I did. As I was given, I gave back, and I thought that was my choice. That was what I wanted from my leaders, and I was determined to make sure that when given the opportunity to train and lead soldiers, I would remember this soldier's creed. As a sergeant, a leader of soldiers, I read the leader's code also. Several times it inspired me. I tried to follow the code. Here are just a few pieces of that code. It says, I renew my status as a leader by what I do each day. I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and I constantly strive to improve. I live by a moral code in my actions and set the example for others to emulate. I face every situation with boldness and confidence. I assume full responsibility for my actions. I keep my soldiers well informed, and I make their well-being my primary concern. That was what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. This AG Corps put me in places that gave me an opportunity to do that. I took those skills that I learned as a 13 Bravo, and as I stepped into the AG field, I shared that with my fellow soldiers and comrades. When we went to a field exercises, I was there to help. They looked for that, and I did my very best. Remembering soldiers' requests, following the leader's code, gladly receiving training, mentorship, guidance from my leadership, giving my very best every day to train, lead, motivate, and mentor, and train soldiers, not for any glory. I did this because that was what I was supposed to do as a non-commissioned. It was my charge to do that, to lead, take care of soldiers and their family. Now let me again thank my family. I'm almost done. My family, my wife Linda, my hero. For the 30 years that I was on active duty, she kept me focused during the good times and the not so good times. She constantly encouraged me, telling me to do my best, give 100% every day, take care of your soldiers and their families, and guess what? The Lord will see you through. As a young staff sergeant, I remember her telling me, just stay focused, listen well, and always try to do the right thing all the time. She told me that I would one day become a command sergeant major. That was when I was a staff sergeant. I couldn't even see past staff sergeant, but she could see the future. Not saying you're psychic, but you were right. To my wonderful two daughters, Brittany and Angel, I know that through that 30 years, we did a lot of moving. You had to go from school to school. It wasn't easy. But guess what? You endured it. And I tell you today, I am so very proud of you all. Thank God for you. Thank God for my family. Thank God for all of you. And sometimes you would be surprised if you just look back. The people that had an impact on you being successful. I didn't get here by myself. But I learned many years ago, learn to listen, learn to follow. Once you're given an opportunity, give back. I say again, I'm humbled and I'm honored for the Hall of Fame induction today. Thank you so very much. God bless each of you. God bless our AG Corps. God bless our Army. And God bless this great United States of America. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a final round of applause for all of our Hall of Fame class of 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army song and remain standing for the departure of our official party, our special guests, the Hall of Fame inductees, their families and friends, and the distinguished members of the regiment.
March along, sing our song, we're the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. till the battle's won and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Inductees. Inductees and your immediate family members and distinguished members of the regiment, please follow the escort.